it's just a thing. If I let go, I'm game over. Yeah, this thing will flip and put his horns through my
You're gonna
guts,
be
and
dead.
I'll be finished. So you're holding on for dear life, and you're thinking, and I thought, well, fuck, my only other option is to try and strangle this thing with my jersey. Don't know how that idea came to my fucking mind, but it did.
Welcome to the Wild Dispatch!
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wild Dispatch. I'm Robin and I'm back with more skills and stories from the wild. I have just been in the wild. I'm just back. Apologies everyone if you are tapping your watch wondering where your episode is. It has arrived a little later. Not for no reason whatsoever. I have been stricken down in the bush. I guess the explanation is I was feeling like I had a flu for a few days, maybe 5 days before I noticed, excuse me, a cut that I had on my chest, or what I thought was an insect bite, had then really become inflamed. And turns out that I have some kind of bacterial infection from something, be it a tick or an insect that bit me. I'm on antibiotics now, so not a big deal. But yeah, I was feeling pretty shit. It was weird to be feeling that shit. I don't think I've ever had that from yeah, an infection before. So anyway, today we have a fantastic episode. Someone who I recently visited, Aubrey Tidbury. What a legend! What a character! Someone who looks at how everyone else does something and decides, you know what? I think I'm going to do it a different way. And that different way is probably going to be a shitload harder than everyone else's options. So, the other thing that comes hand in hand with those kinds of choices are obviously incredible stories and some absolutely mind-bogglingly close calls. So, he was willing to share a few of those with me the other day, and yeah, I'm excited to share them with you today. A couple of small things to note quickly. There are a lot of terms used, which is South African lingo. Most of it, I think, makes sense. One thing that popped up in my mind is the term millies is actually corn. Yeah, millies, millie fields, millie pup, millie meal. It's all to do with corn. So, yeah, if you're wondering what the hell is millie, then millie is not a person, or millies is not multiple persons. It is the vegetable corn. Another thing you should check out as well, it will be a great accompaniment to some of these stories that you're hearing today. Aubrey's kids have their own YouTube channel. It is Bushveld Bow Hunting, sorry. That is Bushveld Bow Hunting. It's a great channel. They've got some really wild encounters and amazing hunts on there. So Aubrey is usually the silent partner in the form of a very willing cameraman. So he is involved in all of the making of that in some capacity. But yeah, definitely give that a look. It's a really good channel. Always worth a watch. For anyone watching on YouTube, you may notice there's a couple of little additions behind me. On my way back from the Eastern Cape, I stopped off at Splitting Image Taxidermy, a place which have been taking care of some of the animals that I've managed to successfully harvest over the past few years. I had a fantastic conversation with Doug Cocroft while I was there. That episode will be coming soon. But I also picked up some of the hides, and that was super exciting. So you can probably see behind me that is the back half of the kudu bull that I managed to take 2 or 3 years ago. And then also shortly after that, I was sort of accidentally involved, or managed to connect or cross paths with some hound hunters who were actually chasing a roy cat, which is like a very large lynx in South Africa around. And they were kind enough to give me the hide of the cat that they managed to get on that day. So yeah, it's a really beautiful thing. I mean, they're both stunning. But yeah, particularly that roy cat, like I didn't even really notice how the beautiful spotting on its belly. Yeah, it's really beautiful. So it's worth a look if you're on YouTube. Okay, time for me to stop waffling Here's Aubrey and his many mind-boggling stories. Okay, 12:24.
Okay.
What time? We need to get over to that farm at
We leave town like 3.
Okay.
We
So
get into
we've got
position by 4, yeah. We don't need to rush it.
This hat gets all crinkled.
Okay.
No, but yours doesn't. Mine has like a... I got this hat for a trad bow because you can just go like this.
Oh, clever,
Because when
man.
you have a trad bow,
Is there like a
string
wire in there?
fucks it with those hats.
Yeah, a good mate of mine, John Light, used to... he used to always have a issue with his hat getting stuck in his recoil bow string.
Yeah.
Or those woolly outfits.
Fuck, dude. I had to cut all the stuff. I had to cut all the stuff
He'd
off my
come
arm.
back to camp and tell us about this 5-yard springbuck that he had, and we're like, and he's like, oh, damn it, you won't believe it. I've got the flippin' hat or that thing stuck in his string or something. Something always happened. Miss that bugger.
I nearly lost the first animal that I shot at with the recurve because of that exact reason. The wind was blowing really hard to like the north
Okay.
across from me, and those tassels were like like this, and it hit it, and I was only 12 or 13 yards, maybe 15 yards away.
Jeepers.
But the arrow dropped so low. I shot like in line with the front leg, like middle.
Okay.
And I hit like the very bottom, but luckily it like went straight through the heart, and I've never seen more blood trailing. Like we ran down this dirt road and off out of view, and I was like, oh no, that didn't feel like a good hit. Like that hit my arm and everything, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna start tracking the blood, and it was just like, I'll send you a video, like everywhere. I was just like, okay, I'm not so worried anymore. I don't think this is going to be a problem.
And all those little things, it's just little things, attention to detail.
Yeah.
With bow hunting and then trad hunting, and it's all just fine tuning your equipment and learning from your mistakes. Eh?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Okay, let me make sure that that's on. Do
Okay.
a last check. I feel like it should be on. Yeah, well, good. Okay, dude.
All right.
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Yes.
Well, we've been hanging out for a few days now, getting up to all kinds of mischief.
Yeah.
There's a few things I wanted to... I mean, as I said before, I've recorded a few things of our chats and any things anyway, and I'm sure that some of those nugs are going to come out in other little in-the-field kind of recordings, but I want to hear a bunch of these stories today. Where do we start? I think... Let's start a little bit with like an introduction as to who you are, and like you always lived in there. So Aubrey, Aubrey Tidbury.
Yes, that's me.
And you are like what area are we in now?
So Eastern Cape has been our home, and it's where I feel I belong.
Yeah.
So Eastern Cape. My dad, give you a little bit of a family history. My dad was in the bank, so we travelled around a lot. So every 2 or 3 years, they like to move the bank managers around from what they call Platteland Dorpie to the next one.
Okay.
And so home for our family is Fort Beaufort, Amatola Mountains, Catberg, Lower Blinkwaters, where my dad grew up. And I used to spend most of my school holidays between there, where my uncle lived, and East London, Thorn Park area, where my cousin was on a farm. So that was kind of my childhood memories. School holidays is what you lived for, and time that you got to get into the bush and do a bit of hunting and just things that kids do, you know. Yeah, so very fond memories of riding a motorbike with my late cousin Adrian Mildnall. He had a staffy called Jock that used to either sit on the petrol tank, and then I was about 10 years younger than him. I'd be on the back holding on for dear life with his Sacco 222 that I got told, you don't dare drop this, as well as we'd normally cart a 410 and a 22 with us, and we'd have all this paraphernalia.
Like a whole armory.
Whole armory on a 2-wheel motorbike, and off we'd go to the bush, and just incredible memories of that.
What were you looking for? Anything specific, or just?
So dassies and things that you grow up hunting as a kid. In the daytime, we'd hunt duikers, and every now and again I'd get to witness him shooting a bushbuck. And then, but depending on the school holidays, if it was hunting season or not, so if it was out of season, we'd concentrate on dassies and leghorns, and in the evenings, we'd go and hunt hares and porcupines in the lands, and so we'd have to find a strong, willing, and able helper to carry. We used to have to carry a car battery around because those days torches weren't very bright, and to do our spotlighting in the evening for these hares and these porcupines, we'd have to wire a spotlight that you'd usually use in a vehicle, because we wanted to get into the primitive areas where you couldn't, and we couldn't really ride around with the motorbike because we'd chase everything away. So you go on foot, and we would walk.
Who had to carry the battery?
2-3 k's. So one of our mates, one of his mates, and this poor guy used to have to carry but I mean, he must have had forearms like Popeye at the end of this 2-3-4 k's in the evening, and eventually, I remember, things progressed to like a backpack.
Okay.
Those green school satchels, but you'd have to get a big one that the car battery would fit in, and I remember quite vividly this shriek coming from this guy, and this bag had set alight. There was a short in the wiring of the spotlight. It overheated. We'd obviously been using this thing for too long, and the wires had melted, and the next thing, this backpack was on fire.
Like with battery acid?
With a battery, and so quickly, it's amazing how quickly you can get rid of a thing like that on your back. So, but those are little things that stick out in your mind, I've got fond childhood memories of growing up. We didn't have computer games and cell phones in those days, so it was...
Yeah, you don't need it, do you?
No, it was a great time to grow up.
What did you say to me yesterday? You said, I didn't play video games, I'm in a video game.
Yeah, I feel like my life is a video game. You're talking about some video game, and it was never really something that we did.
Yeah.
To me, I just wanted to be in the bush and chasing things and shooting birds with catties and pellet guns. And it's amazing how that people think, how cruel that is, but that shapes your life in a positive conservation kind of a way, because I've shot so many birds that I don't ever want to shoot another bird again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got me into birding, and I was joined the bird club and loved the fact that I could identify most of the birds we had around, Kind of lost touch with that now, sadly, but
that's definitely, it was part of your life.
Yeah, it was definitely part of my life, and so
I think it's very true what you're saying, because I was kind of the same with a pellet gun, young kid running around. There was a bit of countryside where I wasn't that young. I guess I was like a teenager at the time, but shooting, it's like getting my pellet gun that I'd I can get hold of one of these things, and then shooting, I think it was like a raven I shot. And then just seeing the other raven, all the other ones fled, but one stayed and was really connected with that raven. And you just it makes you realize the kind of scale of some of the choices that you make when you're young and you don't think about it.
You don't. You just want to kill things.
Right. You just, because you're excited.
Yes.
But the lessons, they stick with you, right?
They do. And I mean, we had certain things my dad would drum into me. You do not shoot a wagtail and sunbird, and fair game was mossies and mouse birds, and big game to us was a dove.
Yeah.
So there's
and tasty too.
Starlings and things like that. We were allowed to shoot as many as what we wanted, and we'd often go and eat them, but sadly a lot of them we just wasted, and those are things that stick with you. So now I try, and it's my responsibility to teach that to my kids now, that you don't need to shoot all the birds out there. Go and put up a target, and you can shoot the odd bird that's raiding the fruit tree in the garden on the farm, but just within reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely.
Learn from my mistakes.
So another thing that I wanted to ask you about is kind of connected to what we were talking about, but someone has told me before, and I don't know if you are kind of aware of this, but there seems to be a long history of bow hunting in the Eastern Cape as well. And I guess, were you part of that when that sort of happened?
Yeah, so I don't know if it was those Rambo movies or what that we watched as kids, that you see this guy, Sylvester Stallone, with his bow coming out of a swamp. I don't know if that was it, but I went into the bow shop once in Berea, the gun shop. We didn't have the luxury of bow shops those days, and there was this bow in this catalogue, and I asked the guy if he could order me one, and it was a Barnett International. It had these little wheels. It was one of the first bow. I mean, I'm going back to I was probably just out of school or probably still in school. I think probably around 19. It's been 94, 95 when I got the...
So that's like 40 years ago.
Not...
No, 30 years.
About 30 something.
There's some fear in your eyes.
Well, I got to think. I'm getting old now, but I'm 49 years old now, and I must have been 17-ish then.
No, okay.
17, 18, and I ordered this bow, saved up some pennies, and ordered this bow, and I couldn't hit a barn door with this thing because I had no idea what goes into setting up a bow. So I got very frustrated with this bow, and it ended up spending more time. Initially, it used to live on my bed. Eventually, it spent more time on top of the cupboard because I just couldn't hit anything with it. And I went back to this shop, and the owner, Rodney, said, listen, you need to phone this guy. There's these two brothers, and there's a small group of guys that shoot together on a weekend on a farm just on the outskirts of East London. And you need to phone this guy. His name's John Knight, and his brother's name's Barry Knight. Sadly, both of them have passed on, but we became great friends. I phoned them, and I was like the youngster. There was about 4 or 5 of them that used to shoot on Pitversagi's farm just outside East London. So on a weekend, on a Saturday, that was the place to be. And the first time I actually went there and I met John Knight, and he took one look at this bow, and he just didn't really say much, and he must have been so flippin' disgusted with the setup, and he just started stripping this bow, and I thought, geez, what a rude old man. This guy's just stripping my flippin' bow. He hasn't even asked. Meantime, it was totally set up incorrectly. And handed it back to me, and he said, yeah, youngster, have a go there. And I've managed to actually hit like this big 2 by 2 meter target to actually get an arrow on the board. And I thought, jeepers, like I'm in the right place here now, you know. And then things progressed, and then we got together with some other guys there were a couple of small...
Hang on a second, sorry. That's a fuck up.
What is that?
No, it's just an alarm going off on my phone.
Crickets.
I turned it onto airplane mode, but
Okay.
didn't know that there was an alarm. I was trying to...
If with that cricket noise, no one would even have actually even noticed.
That's actually true.
Yeah, but any case, so long story short, we started a little archery club, and more guys came and joined, and it was quite nice to have a group of guys that, especially with the technical aspect of John there, and then there was a guy that used to do strings, and everybody brought their little bit of tradesmanship to the table, you know. There was a guy that could cut your arrows, and there was a guy that had a fletching jig, and so we learnt, and so we bartered and sold things among each other, and you buy this bow, I'm getting another one, and eventually I remember a couple of things that stuck out to me were eventually a bow came along. It was a Jennings Buckmaster, and that was there were two guys that had come, 2 businessmen that had joined this group, and they had quite a bit of tom, and they rocked up one Saturday there with these Jennings Buckmasters, and it was like the camo pattern on these bows, and it was an incredible bow to look at, but it was like 10 steps up from anything that we had, you know, and everybody just wanted one of those. So we ended up, quite a few of us eventually ended up buying these Jennings Buckmasters, and it was I think you have like a revelation bow every now and again that comes along and just sets the standard, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the bow in that era, and it must have been in the early 2000s, around about there. And then it actually grew to, there were probably about 30 of us that used to shoot quite regularly, and then we started shooting in the evenings as well at the Grand Prix track. One of the guys worked for a company there, and he organised some, like, we used to shoot in the evenings, target shooting, and that really improved our shooting a lot. And on the hunting, so some of the guys used to used to just purely do archery, and then there was a pocket of us that used to enjoy our hunting, and we got to know more guys, and more and more guys were joining the sport. And yeah, so I think the only place in those days that we used to order stuff was from a guy called Corbus in Sasselberg. He had a lot of equipment, so we'd order from him, and we used to shoot aluminium arrows in those days. I don't know if it's still the thing that
they
you
still
can
exist.
you can still buy them. So yeah, 2216s, Eastern 2216s, and that was kind of the right spine for our bows and those type of things. And we went on. There was a guy from up north that came down, Benito van Leeuwen, who was a very good archery shooter. I think he was a springbuck shotist. He came and offered us a course, and we all went to Carl Krul's farm, and we spent a couple of days there, and he really taught us about kinetic energy and all of the intricate things about bows that we didn't really know about. There was I don't even think there was internet in those days that you could Google and find out all this wealth of knowledge. So we had to kind of teach each other and learn from each other the hard way. We used to hunt without rangefinders in those days.
It was just about to ask you.
But we got so good at it, we used to go on like a Sunday and go and shoot ant heaps, mole heaps with zwiggies, those little spring things, and then in the evenings shoot hares and stuff. And you got so good at judging distances, and like 40 yards was a very long shot for us in those days. It was, kind of knew your limitations, because the further it was, the harder it was to judge, and also your margin of error with the slower bows in those days, the arrow was just dipping the further it got, So we knew that 20, 30 was kind of the distance to be getting to and shooting. And we had some great successes. We spent a lot of time in the veld. And then in about, I think it must have been around 2005, the next revelation bow that came out to us was the Matthews Switchback.
Okay.
It was like, I don't know if there's ever been another bow that is matched in its time how that bow changed things for us. It was like, man, we one or two guys bought one, and then everybody saw this bow and how quieter they started becoming more like a parallel limb, kind of the previous ones were all very almost like your recoil bow type of thing. The Buckmaster was, but as good as the Jennings Buckmaster was, the Matthews Switchback was just notches ahead of it. Obviously, technology as it progressed, etc., etc.
So, what was so good about it? Was it forgiving?
Everybody wanted one, and it was a very forgiving bow, and it was a lot quieter and a lot less. They had now these little dampeners that came out, and as technology progressed, we got to witness it and see these changes. And I mean, yes, the Switchback. I was lucky enough to get one, and it changed my whole bow hunting. That Switchback was like an extension to my arm, and we spent so much time in the bush and hunting, and especially bush pigs. And I rigged this thing up for hunting bush pigs with a optimizer sight, and then the drop away rest. Eventually, we used to use those spring prong rests in the olden days, and the whisker biscuits. I think a lot of guys still use them.
They do, yeah.
And then we used to put laser sights on our bow. And
did you?
Yeah.
Except for the night time.
Yeah, but you learn the hard way. Put the laser sight on. We used to put on the stabilizer, but not bearing in mind that parallax effect. I mean, you could set it perfectly to intercept at 20, but if the pig was standing at 20, 22 or 23, you're going to hit totally underneath it, because so then we learned that you got to have your laser sight strapped to the side of your bow,
just next to where the arrow
on the plane of sight of more or less 20-ish from your peep to your pin, running in that. So that helped a lot.
So I got a question for you.
Yes.
Tell me, you kind of went through this whole process and you got in with the right crowd in terms of learning how to shoot, and you went from not being able to hit a barn door to then suddenly you could shoot more accurately.
Yeah.
What point was it that you felt like, okay, I'm ready to hunt now with it? And what did you hunt? Tell me that story.
So So initially, when you get a bow, all you want to do is hunt. You
Yeah.
just want to shoot your first animal, But the frustration, fortunately, came that I think it was a blessing in disguise that I couldn't hit a barn door, because if I could hit close, I would have gone out and tried to shoot something with that bow. But luckily, the progression happened quickly, and I met these guys, and we used to then practice a lot, and got to a point where So yeah, my first animal was a bushbuck ram.
Wow.
I remember that morning I shot a yellow-billed duck on a dam, and I shot a hare as well that I found in the daytime. It was just one of those lucky days.
Yeah.
And I used to go to a mate's farm most weekends and take my 2 hunting dogs with me and take the bow, and we went for a stalk, and I got to a gate, and I thought, yes, this spot looks good. And out of the tumas, it's a little plant that the bushbuck like to eat. It's
What does it look like?
It's got a yellow, like a tomato, small tomato size. I'm trying to think of the English word.
Oh,
for it,
okay.
but it's called a tumas. Very prickly thing.
Like a little fruit on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Like a little fruit on it. And out of these tumas walked this bushbuck ram, and I was still trying to get through this gate, but fortunately he walked out onto the road and was walking away from me. And it's amazing how those are stuck in your... It's like it's recorded. I can sit back here, close my eyes, I only close my eyes, and it's like I'm watching it in HD. And this bushbuck ram was walking away from me. He wasn't the biggest of rams. He was about an 11-inch ram. I'm going to show you a picture of him, and that was with the Jennings Buckmaster, if I can remember correctly. And yes, he was... So I'd got through this fence, and I'm quite sure, but now he's walking away and he's getting out of range. So I quickly snuck up behind him, and this ram was walking, and I was like trailing him, following him, but in the open on this 2-track path. And then he veered off to start going into the bush. I thought, well, I'm going to have to shoot. And he stopped to chow, and he turned slightly, and I sent one at must have been 35-ish or 40, could have even been 40, and I was so flippant surprised too. So my mate who was hunting over the next hill heard my shout of excitement. I just let out the scream that just came out of conflict. Like a bushbuck ram's such a special thing for us here in the Eastern Cape. And to hunt one with a bow, it was like... pinch
Crazy.
me, I couldn't slap myself.
What a start.
Is this actually, well, not a start, it's just like, is this actually happening?
No, I said a start.
Oh, what a start. Yeah. So it was an incredible start, and I'd said to a mate of mine before this, he asked me about bow hunting, and he said, what do you want to shoot? And I said, I want to shoot a bushbuck ram, and I want to shoot a bush pig with a bow. And he laughed at me. He thought, this is like unobtainable,
Yeah.
And then, so from there, bush pigs has always been close to my heart, and it's something that we've progressed into because out of season you need to find something to hunt. And pigs have often been like problem animals to a lot of farmers. So the farmers were only too happy to let you come and hunt their bush pigs for free. So that's how we've made a couple of phone calls, and in those days there was a telephone book, and you could look and you'd find a telephone number and it'd be like the farm name. Then you're like, okay, this is a farmer. So we phoned this guy, listen, uncle, we're doing problem animal control here. If you need our services, please, take down my number or
Very
phone.
quiet.
Yeah. So that's how that started, and then. Yes, in the olden days we didn't have. I keep talking about the olden days. I make myself sound like I'm so flippant.
No, man, that's the good stuff.
But we didn't have trail cams. So my friend came up, Ian. I used to hunt quite a bit of bush pigs with him, Ian Klopper, and he had this brilliant idea to put an alarm clock, like one of these. What's the one with the arm? Is it called an analog? What's the watch with
an analog? Yeah.
Analog alarm clock.
This is digital.
Yes, so analog. I
Analog,
think.
yeah.
These little alarm clocks. You take the cover off the back to work on one pen light battery, and you put a nylon around the battery across where we'd be feeding the pigs. So we learned to put it at a height where the porcupines could pass through underneath.
Okay.
And then when the pigs would come, it would pull the battery out. So then the next day we would go and
what
see
time?
what time the pigs had come in.
Whoa, that's genius.
So that was, and then we made these little brackets for these things with a battery thing open and a spark that you could put in the ground instead of just tying it to a tree. And then, because you would go through batteries because you either couldn't find your battery, a pig had flung it, or it had hooked on its foot, or it would be in the mud,
Yeah, and then ruined.
Yeah, so
That's genius,
yeah,
man.
so that was it was a huge tool for us, because otherwise you're sitting there
All night.
until stupid hours of the night, not knowing what time the pigs are coming. But we've learned a couple of tricks along the way, because these pigs are so clever.
So tell me then, we should set up, because, I mean, I've been hunting with you for the past few days and have been having a fantastic time. We've been, the overarching theme is bush pig as well. Like at the night, you have feeders up and you kind of have these places set up. But not everyone knows what a bush pig is. So you should talk a little bit about, I guess, the pigs in South Africa. You have there's feral pigs, like that I think people brought over on the ships long ago, right? Normal pigs. There are some of those around. I know I've hunted some of them in the Western Cape, but obviously warthogs, Pumbaa, which everybody knows from The Lion King.
Yeah.
And then, but the bush pig, there's this other magical beast. Tell me about what is the bush pig like?
Yeah, so your warthog is obviously diurnal. They come out in the daytime and sometimes they feed into the evenings, but generally they go and sleep in a hole. They make a hole and they go and catch a dose in the evening in a hole.
Yeah.
And your bush pigs come out at night. So generally, because they've been, I think, persecuted over the years so much, they've become so clever and so elusive that not many people get to see them.
Yeah.
That's why when you do have bush pigs that you're able to get, that'll come out in the daytime, it's such a special thing. It's like almost unheard of.
Yeah.
But in these little pockets where there's not much human movement during the day, they become a bit complacent, I suppose. But so generally bush pigs have been crop raiders, or been notorious for being crop raiders. So
crop raiders.
crop
Okay.
raiders, as in they'll come and decimate maize lands, and
Yes.
so maize is the main thing that guys plant in our area, but up north probably peanuts and whatever.
They just eat whatever's nutrient rich.
Yeah, macadamias and pecans and whatever. But yeah, so. That was kind of my attraction, was an animal that also you don't know much about it. It's a secretive thing, and I'd heard about these things, and also, funny, I'm sounding like a mate of mine I interviewed about bush pigs a while ago. He'd heard about them from his uncle, and his uncle had let him play with the tusks of the pigs, and he was so intrigued he wanted to see what was on the other end of these tusks. So I enjoyed that part of it. But to me, it was more of an animal that we had the opportunity to go and hunt for free.
Yes.
So
it's like a practicality.
And now we're doing a big favor to the farmer by hunting these things that are trying his crops and stuff. So
and he doesn't want to stay up all night.
Yeah, he doesn't. Who wants to go and stay up all night after farming all day? But except for young, energetic guys like us that flip and lived for these moments, Yeah. So that is how. And then traveling to. So we found out the hard way that you can't just put down maize every now and again. You need to feed them consistently. Okay. So I had to come up with something that could put mealies down or maize down every evening without me being there, because I just couldn't. I couldn't afford to drive all that distance to go and put mealies down every day.
Yeah, of course.
And I found out that when you weren't feeding them consistently, they'd come. And obviously, I mean, if the pigs come and they eat you tonight, there's a good chance they'll come tomorrow. But if they get you tomorrow and there's no food down, I think, well, this magic tree hasn't dropped mealies tonight. We'll come and check it next time, maybe in 2 or 3 nights. But if they come back the second night and there is maize there, then why not the third night?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They'll just keep coming.
And you kind of get them into a routine. And so, yes, my wife bought me a vacuum cleaner, dustbuster for my workshop.
Okay.
And she was so disappointed coming into the workshop, seeing that I'd stripped this thing to get to the motor to turn it into a bush pig feeder, because I needed a motor with a propeller to chuck millies out. I'd read about these things in these books, in these magazines, and any case, I didn't have much success with that, and I didn't quite know how to put the thing back together, so I was in big trouble. But no, we weren't married at the time either. But so then I made one out of a windscreen wiper motor.
Okay.
And it would turn, have like a little pocket, and it would turn and the maize would fall in. But to get something to turn at the right time of day once was the issue. So I went to all these guys, the tech gurus, and eventually it was a Swiss clockmaker who had an old timer system that he gave me that would work, but it was also not something that could stay outside and get wet.
Yeah, of course.
So eventually, yes, I spent lots and lots of money with lots and lots of different people trying to make my own feeders, something. The housing part was never really a problem. Drums were always available, and
Okay.
and then it progressed. So eventually we managed to get these spinners from overseas. So that part was taken care of.
So when you say spinner, it's literally, is that the kind of like the thing that we have?
Correct.
Okay.
So it's the electronic component of it that's got the timer set up in it that will then throw the...
That will just rotate.
That will rotate. Correct.
Corn will just
Maize
fall
would
through
flow, but the snag came, and I learnt this the hard way. We had this big drum, and we just pulled it up. We were working up in Natal at the time, and I wanted to shoot a Natal pig. So we pulled this thing up into a gum tree, but with a ski rope. And a mate of mine, and he was standing underneath this feeder, and he took one step, and this at that time that nylon rope broke, and 2 bags of millies were in that thing. So it's 100 kgs plus the weight of the feeder landed where he was standing.
Like at least 250 pounds.
And I went cold. I thought, well, I could have just killed this guy.
Yeah.
By taking a flipping shortcut with a ski rope. And then I realized, okay, we need to up the strategy here, and we started using steel cable with the correct pulleys, with a boat winch to pull it up. And so I started making these feeders for myself, and eventually had them rotomolded, and realized that because the drums were getting wet, the water was running. When it would rain, the water would run down the feeders, get to the spinner, and the spinners wouldn't last. So I then had to integrate a drip ring onto it, and then I'd get back to the feeding station thinking the pigs have been eating, and get there and the monkeys are having a party. And I'd sit back and I'd watch this, and they'd turn the propeller by hand. They'd have one oak up there turning the propeller, and the rest of them are like edging him on. And like, keep going, and the rest of them have changed, and you get there, there's 50 kilos of maize on the ground, and these oaks are having a big fat party. And then the consistency went with the pigs, because they'd get there and there'd be no maize left. So we've then built a cage, and the cage then over years we realized the smaller monkeys were then sticking their hand through to turn the propeller. So we had to make the hole smaller. And then the baboons would rip the propeller off the bottom. So the feeder pot was exposed. They'd ripped. So now we've had to make an additional cage to fit over there. So we've got it right now to a point where it must be so frustrating for these things. They can smell the millies in there. They know they're in there, but they just can't rob it.
You must have videos, because you always have a camera set up there.
I get sent pictures as well of strange things you see at the feeders with baboons hanging from it, and that's how we've had to improve it. Over the guys.
You learn.
So the guys have now. Last years they've been buying these things from me. I kind of developed them for my own use, but as things go and people, so guys buy them, and something
we should add though. I haven't even given context of where we are actually sat recording this podcast now. Yeah. So we're in a special spot which Aubrey has set up. It was a couple of nights ago, I think. I came over and you made me climb up a tree and shoot some arrows down at a 3D target very nicely, because I have no idea where to shoot from a tree.
Yeah, it's a different game, eh? And
yeah. So we're at the site where hopefully tonight, I think you said that we're probably going to go here, and maybe we'll see something, maybe we won't.
Well,
but you never know. That's part of the excitement.
That's the nature of pig hunting.
So the reason why, if anyone's watching on YouTube, we keep looking over past the camera, it's because we're looking at the feeder right now. It's hanging from a tree, probably 25 yards away from us at the site. So yeah, that's where it is, and I can see now. I thought it was an interesting looking contraption, and I didn't ask you because I wanted to ask you in the podcast.
Okay.
Why it has all those rings and holes and everything. So that all makes a lot more sense now. Why it looks a little bit like a jet engine or something that's been hung vertically.
Yeah. So I've made a mold. My brother-in-law's quite a handy tool maker, and he helped me make. We made a mold out of a old compressor, and we have it rotomolded. So it's a nice, thick, durable plastic with a proper watertight lid.
Yes.
And so the trick is to keep that maize as dry as possible, else it won't flow to the spin at the bottom.
It just gets stuck.
Yes, correct. And then the cages are there for, as I've explained. But it's something that has progressed over time to what it is now. And I'd like to think that we've got it to a point where it's where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And then only maybe one step I need to take is make a bigger one that can house
a
lot more maize, because that would last you probably 6 weeks at a stretch.
The big one or the small one?
This
one.
one.
So then you can just drop it and forget it.
You can drop it and leave it in far away places where all the monster pigs are that have never seen human beings before, those big woolly hairy ones.
The ones you dream about.
The ones we dream about. And we're very lucky here in the Eastern Cape that we've got these woolly hairy pigs. And there's nothing more exciting than seeing one of those turn up on your trail cam. And so we try and just shoot boars because the sows just keep bringing boars back. But if you're shooting the sow, you're shooting your breeding pig, and it's not ideal. So
that's why
we've got some sows that over the years we've shot maybe 8-10 boars off them. They must think they're the luckiest pig unluckiest pig in the world.
Why do my husbands keep dropping down?
Yeah.
So that is a thing that's really interesting about them, because they don't look like a normal pig. They have this amazing, and you showed me yesterday when we went to another site, you showed me you pulled hair from
off a fence,
like a bit of wire that had snagged on the hair of a bush pig.
Yeah.
It's like a really distinct white and black hair, but it's thick hair, right?
Bristly, yes.
Bristly hair.
Very bristly, and that's always an exciting sign to look for on a barbed wire fence, where they're coming through, and you know that that the pigs have been here. It's always been exciting to me, because, like I say, before trail cam days, that was your sign that the pigs have been here.
But they also have this crazy face, like there's something different about. I mean, obviously warthogs, the males and the females a little bit, but like they have like lumps and all kind of, like, hence the name warthog, I guess.
Correct.
But the bush pigs have a really I think they look more scary. Like, what's going on with their face?
Yeah, so generally the warthogs, the warthogs' bigger tusk is their top tusk.
Yes.
And then their sharper tusks are the ones at the bottom that rub against and
they keep sharpening.
Keep sharpening, yes.
Yeah.
So a warthog, I think, looks a lot more, that he can inflict a lot more damage on you. But I tell you what, don't underestimate a bush pig. So a bush pig's main tusks are its bottom tusks, which are the sharp ones. They also rub against the top ones, but the top ones tend to be there, I think, just to sharpen the bottom ones. That's how the big man upstairs created them, I'd like to believe.
Yeah.
And they are, I've seen dogs that have been ripped open by pigs. They slice through a rib bone like it's nothing.
Really?
It's and a bush pig can be such an aggressive pig. They don't like being chased. They don't like being bayed by dogs. And that's how we follow up with the dogs in the evening, because they help you find them. And it's a dangerous pig, but it commands respect, and I love hunting them. They're so elusive, and I think that's what attracts me to them, is that it's a tough hunt.
And they can get up to like 90, 100 kilos, like the biggest ones. Hey?
Well, the biggest ones, they tend to get bigger up, I think, in Natal, up north, where they eat sugarcane, and there's a lot of, I suppose it's maybe a bit of genetics, and it's a bit of, obviously got to do with what they're eating, and I think the heavier pigs is just generally fat content.
Okay.
So,
yes.
But I've heard of 110, 115 kg pigs up north in Natal that the guys shoot. I've heard of some even heavier, but
Wow.
some you got to
Some
really
of them-
say, well, you
Some
just,
of them are hunting stories.
yeah, hunting tales as they go. But so for us, a big pig is like a 75 kg to 80 kg live weight boar.
Yes.
Is a big pig, and then we've shot the odd one we've shot quite a number in the 80s, and if they start hitting the 90, 95 kg mark, one or two of my mates have shot 102 kg pigs here. But like I say, it's pigs that have generally been feeding on maize and living the good life, and they
For a while.
are fat, but also depending on the length of the pig.
Yes.
But and I'm talking live weights here. I'm talking as it stands, as it walks around in the bush, those weights.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
guts in, everything on. So their heads are, to answer your question, a pig's got a very distinct ear shape, and their eyesight isn't fantastic, but their sense of smell is phenomenal.
Okay.
It is like, and I think a lot of they've got a great intuition. They won't just take a chance. If they suspect something's not right, they can figure you out so quickly. So our whole setup has changed. We used to sit in the tree for them often,
Yeah.
and there was a pig that we battled to figure out. But this pig got so clever, it would come and smell the tree that we'd climbed up to see if we were there or not that night.
Really?
And then it would drop down. It actually had this pig not climb up the tree, but put his front hooves on the tree I'd climbed up, and I was actually thinking, well, geez, this pig's going to climb up here and chow me, you know. And you're a beginner, and you're a bit nervous of these things. And in any case, it dropped down, and it smelt we were there, and it got so used to our smell. And this is like the 11th night we'd sat for this pig.
Yeah.
And it dropped down, and it started eating some maize that I'd put on the path close by, and shooting is another aspect. I was trying to shoot with a bow at night is a totally different monster.
Yeah.
You can't see your peep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you a couple of things that we've developed over the time with a little nose thing that we'd made. Now they make these fancy nose buttons, but we used to tie dental floss or cotton or serving on your string, make a little like a sharpish ball of string on there, and that's your knocking point for the evening for nighttime shooting.
Okay.
If you know that's there, you know that you're in line with your peep sight. And I tried to shoot this pig at like 4 meters, and I let the arrow go, and the pig took off. We had no glow knocks in those days either, and I see the pig standing there. I think, well, count how long it takes for a bow to kill a pig, and this was my first pig with a bow.
Okay.
And yes, this pig just carries on standing, and eventually after a minute or two, like get to 2 minutes counting, the pig walks and goes and starts chowing at the feet. I think, geez, these things are tough. So turned the light up. We used to run a little cable to where we were sitting with a rheostat that used to often burn out, and had the little LED, not a LED, a little torch globe in a tin above them, and turn it up, and had this pig chowing, and I sent the arrow, managed to hit it, and it went and crashed, and we went and picked it up. I want to see where my first arrow had gone, and meantime it was just off the path where I'd missed the pig.
You completely missed.
Totally missed it at 4 meters, but
I guess you don't know where to aim at 4 meters necessarily as well.
well, the thing is, we hadn't even figured out that thing yet, and so we didn't have lights and illuminated pins and those things, so you had to paint our sight white, and we've learnt the hard way.
So I've heard so many great stories. I mean, you've had so many close calls. I dare to say that you have 9 lives. It's quite incredible, some of the things that you've told me. So, I mean, obviously you said that you shoot the animal and then sometimes you have to follow up with dogs, but you've had some close calls with both warthogs and bush pigs. Tell me some of those moments where you've been charged, you've had to take some drastic measures, I think, right?
Yeah. So so probably more bush pig than warthog stories, because it's a thing that I've hunted mainly.
Yeah.
The thing that it's been a common thread since my teenage years, is a thing that I've really been passionate about hunting. So bush pigs, So One that comes to mind. So my mate and I, Don, and I'm sorry he's not here to join us on this chair.
In this chair, the empty chair.
He's out hunting. Because him and I have spent many adventures together. It's often you have a hunting buddy that you go hunting with. Nowadays, it's mainly my sons are my hunting buddies. But Don and I used to have this thing where either he'd phone me or I'd phone him at lunchtime, and we'd say, "Okay, are you thinking what I'm thinking?" We'd both be thinking, the mountains are calling, and we need to get to the oak trees in the Catberg Mountains. And it's a favorite time of year when the acorns are falling, and we're sitting under some giant oak trees. Yeah, I love an oak tree, and the bush pigs love acorns. So February is kind of that time, February into March, depending on the area and rainfall, whatever, when the acorns normally finish end of March.
Yeah.
Sometimes into April. But we would head up there, and we'd travel like, those days fuel wasn't an issue. We'd travel 200 k's, 250 k's to go and hunt a pig that night for a night. And then come back, spend the night there, or come back at 3 a.m, whatever, and be like a total zombie at work the next day. But it didn't matter. Sometimes we'd go 2-3 nights in a flipping row, depending on what had happened with his pigs. And any case, so there's one particular pig that was quite a quite very aggressive pig. Didn't nearly eat us, but it nearly ate the dog, and it was a very aggressive pig. So I'll tell you the short version of the story. So the farmer, the caretaker of the farm, would let us stay in this one old house. And you talk about some people believe in ghosts, some don't, but this made me believe in ghosts. We got to this old house just before dark, and my dog Brandy, it was Brandy 2. I'll tell you about Brandy 1 later.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about Brandy 1 later.
Brandy 1 was an incredible dog, and Brandy 2 was a phenomenal dog. And we got to the kitchen door, when we put the key in that the guy had given us to open, and this dog just started barking. And her hair was up on her back. It was still light, but there's no electricity in the house. It was all generator days, houses, those type of things. And Brandy was not happy. There was something that she was petrified of in this house. Like a dog barks at a snake, but worse.
Yeah, but you don't see anything there.
Her hair's up, she's barking incessantly at us, and we're not seeing anything. So we shrug it off and unpack our stuff, our cooler boxes. We normally pack like a flask of coffee and some chow for the evening. Sometimes we'd have a brow. We'd just pick up a burger on the way or whatever. And there's like 4 or 5 clumps of oak trees, and we'd do our rounds. And we'd start at like 8 o'clock, and we'd do our rounds to see if the pigs are under which set of trees, and then we'd come back to the house, have a cup of coffee, try and wait like another hour. But the excitement, normally like for half an hour, 45 minutes, we do another loop, and hopefully we come across the pigs. So we had been up to these mountains twice that week already.
Okay.
And we'd put a pallet in an oak tree, and Don and I were like, so going back 2 steps, we were sitting.
Oh, like a pallet crate, like
pallet crate,
wooden...
but like a 1 meter by 1 meter thing for 2 of us. It was ridiculous. So we both cramped up on this tree, and we sitting 8 meters up this oak tree, and there was a line of 4 trees at the spot. And 2 o'clock in the morning, Don hits me in the shoulders, and he says, "Pigs are coming," and it was his turn to shoot. So this big boar comes under this fence, and he starts chomping on acorns, and I turn the light up, and Don shoots, and he goes straight over the top of the pig and just nicks him in the head, like slice the skin.
Okay.
You can see that's the important thing with the glow knock at night. It tells you what's happened. Any case, we're like bummed, hook it home, go up the next day, or we might have skipped a day, and it was now my turn, and same thing happened, and Don turns the light up, and I shoot underneath this pig. But he was a big boar. And so now we're really bummed. We've traveled all this distance. This pig's in our head now. He's got into us. We want to get this pig. It's not becoming personal now, you know.
Yeah.
So the next time is now when we go up and we get given the key to this house, and this dog's barking at this, what we think is a ghost. In any case, we do our rounds, come back. Each time we come back, Brandy's so chuffed to see us, because because we leave the poor dog in the house. We're nowhere else to put her. We didn't have like a dog crate or anything.
So you just lock it in the house.
Put it in the house, and this poor dog, Shaman, and so now we do our rounds about 11. It was about 11:15 now, if I remember correctly, and we
At night.
and we go past. There was a section where a cow had died. It had jumped over a fence and got his foot hooked, and it obviously died there. But like a week or two before, and it was rotting, and the maggots were getting stuck into it, and these pigs, we could hear them. They getting stuck in here. So now it's Don's turn to shoot again, and I turn up the light, but now this pig realizes each time a light comes up, something comes zooming past me. Yeah? So as we turn the light up, they scattered. And this pig ran and stood behind this big cypress tree in like a bit of a ditch, and his head was behind the tree, but we could still see from his shoulder and the rest of his body. And Don shot, but unfortunately he hit this pig low, like in the spleen, like just in the bottom of the belly. Yeah, it was angling away, like hit it here.
Yeah.
Because we knew it was a hit, like no problem, we'll go fetch brandy, and we're literally 200 meters from the house, so we walk back to the house, get the dog. She's as relieved as she was previously to be getting out of this house, and we then start following up on this pig. In between this, I'm forgetting to tell you this part.
Yeah.
In between our stalks, we're sitting at the kitchen table chaiing our rusks or whatever and our coffee, and this dog starts barking at this. There's this door half ajar off the kitchen, and she's barking, starts growling, and then it goes into a full-on bark, hair up, back, like a dog does, back pedaling. And I look at Don across the table. He looks at me. I'm like, go see what's going on. He's like, no, bugger that, you go look. So okay, well, let's go together. Like two grown men here, but we like flipping push the door open, and there's just two beds in this room. There's like nothing but these two beds.
Are they like made beds, or are they?
No, there's nothing. A mattress on each bed. Nothing you can see underneath the beds. There's nothing else in this room. But this dog's flipping, barking like there's something there. And he goes, we closed that door for the rest of the night and carried on pig hunting, and that's where we now at with this pig that Don shot. Fetched a dog, and we start following the dog on the pig. And now we're in this tall thatch grass, tall dobble grass that you can't see what's at your feet.
Okay.
I know Brandy's at my feet because I can hear her, and I spot her every now and again. And so the only consolation that you're not walking into a wounded pig is the fact that the dog's there.
Yes.
She's telling you that, normally they'll bark or growl or whatever if they can smell the pig or see it. So we're carrying on looking through this stuff for must be an hour or two, and now we've had minimum sleep the whole week. We're running on pure adrenaline fumes, or what's left of it, and we're following this dog to try and find this pig. And eventually I'm like hallucinating. I thought I saw a pig. Meantime it was a tuft of grass, and I said to Don, wait, drew my bow, and I flipping we weren't even using spears those days. We walking around with these bows and the stuff, and I drew my bow and I shot this double grass, and I thought I'd hit it square. Meantime Don says, hey, but you've just hit a patch of grass. And we realized this is getting dangerous here. Someone's going to get hurt because we like sleepwalking here.
Deliriously walking around with weapons.
Yeah. So we decided we followed for probably another 50, 100 meters to where this pig had crossed the stream. We found a drop of blood on the stone, and we then decided to pack it up for the night and come back in the morning. So we went and slept, and we woke up and we put the brandy on the scent on the blood trail where this pig had crossed the stream. And we were just saying, oh, flip, if only she could just pick up where we left off last night. We had a couple of interactions with this pig, just bark, and the pig would take off. And our words weren't cold, and she started barking. And this barking got quieter and quieter as she disappeared up this hill after this pig.
Okay.
But I could hear by the intensity of the barking and yapping, that like a high-pitched yapping, that she's onto something. And we're just hoping it's this flippin' pig. Well, Don and I are there with our bows, and we standing waiting, and I'm like, that barking's getting louder. That dog's coming back. And as it's coming back, it's getting like intense. Yes, next thing we catch glimpses of her. Now we on lower ground, and this dog had run up, and there's like broken bush with these pingo cholos, like a wachabiki bush. It's a very
super
hectic
thorny.
thorns. Yeah. And through this, I see Brandy come, and she comes and hides here, like behind us. And I'm like, shit, well, here comes flipping action. And with us, we're hearing this pig from about, I don't know, 40 or 50 yards out. We hear this pig. He's coming, tearing down this path, looking for this dog, and it wants to kill this dog. And
no,
this
but
pig,
you made a noise last time you told me this.
I don't know. I hope I don't blow the speakers here, but
No,
it
blow
noises
it,
here.
yeah.
And this flipping pig comes down this path, and it's putting on brakes because it's looking for this dog, and it's like. If you never heard a bush pig, it feels like the ground is vibrating under your feet.
That sounds terrifying.
Across pig, and this pig was, and like I say, we didn't film it, but it's branded into my mind. And Don, you could let him retell you the story separate without me, and it's going to be the exact same version of this. It's not we don't add on any tails or any of this. Flippin' dog is behind us. This flippin' pig is looking for this dog, and it stops. Fortunately, it slams on brakes here about, I don't know, it must have been 6 meters, could be 8 meters, could be 10 meters from us.
Yeah.
And it's looking for this dog, but it was coming down this path like with vigor, like with intent, like
Yes, that sounds terrifying.
it's gonna fucking kill something. It just wants to, like, this poor thing's been in pain the whole night from this shot in the spleen, and it's like, like you can hear that, you can translate that sound into, I want to fucking kill you, come here, where you, like where you, yes. And with this, we'd both drawn our bows. I let go and I hit the pig just above its right eye. Yeah.
Okay.
And it just, unfortunately, if it had been an inch lower, it would have gone in the eye socket and straight
Game
into the
over.
brain and killed the
Yeah,
pig.
yeah, yeah.
But unfortunately, I was a tad high, and the arrow went in underneath the skin and between the skin and the skull, and the pig's got a hard flipping skull. And this pig just did that and snapped the arrow off. So there was a little piece just sticking out here, but it snapped the last part of the arrow, the fletch and stuff. It snapped it off and took off back up the path that it come.
So like the broadhead is still stuck in its head?
Well, the pig, the broadhead had come.
through.
It was out, yeah, but
okay.
the arrow was between the skin and the head, with
yeah.
a piece sticking out each, and it snapped the front, the back part, the fletcher's part off. The broadhead's obviously, but it had done nothing to it.
Yes.
Other than make it bleed a bit more. And with it running, the rest of the arrow obviously fell out or got tangled or knocked out on it's thick stuff. So I look up at Don, he's there where you are, and he's still holding his bow, like in absolute flippin' shock as to, we're both shocked as to, like, did that actually, he'd forgotten to let go.
Yeah.
I'm like, did that really flippin' happen? And we're like, no way, it's flippin' the dog. No, action replay. Dog takes off again off the pig, and same flippin' thing happens. Like it's like you've reversed rewound the video and played it again. The same thing happens.
Dog's getting louder and louder.
Dog
right?
takes off quieter, louder. Pig stops at like almost the exact same spot, but in a little bit thicker stuff. And now I've put another arrow in, and we both shoot, and we both hit the spingle bush, and these arrows don't even touch the pig. We both miss it, and the pig takes off, and the dog just lies there. She's like, I didn't sign up for this crap. You go find that pig yourself. I'm out. I'm done. And we're like, no, come on, Brandy, come on, help us. You're like, pick this dog, because she's panting, she's tired, she's obviously no stuff. This isn't how it should be,
Yeah.
And like we eventually carry her a bit and try and put her where this pig had gone up, and she's like, no ways, I'm done here. So now we're searching. Now this pig's not even bleeding anymore, other than this, it's got this congealed thing on its head here, over its eye, which I'd seen later. But it's not bleeding from here anymore, but it's now got adrenaline in it, and it is fucking pissed off. So I said to Don, listen, if we can get this dog going onto this pig again, I'm gonna walk in there with now, and that's what happened. About a half an hour later, she got a second or third wind, and she went and yaff and started barking at this pig in this thick stuff. I said to him, listen, going in there with a bow is like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to even draw your bow. If you're going to draw your bow, your arrow's going to come off, or you're going to get a stick hooked in the string between the cam. You're wasting your flipping time. And I said, I'm going to sneak in there above it. My dad always said, you come from above a wounded animal. So I did a big loop, and I said, I'm going to whistle. If I see, like, we've got a shot opportunity here, then bring my bow or bring your bow or whatever, and just but come quietly. And I came around the top, and this pig was standing like that, and on his right eye where I'd shot him, it had this big clot of congealed blood was all over his right eye, and Brandy was barking at this dog in front of it, like barking at this pig in front of it. And so fortunately he couldn't see me with this, and he was focused on the dog. And I whistled to Don, and he came and he brought my bow, and we managed to switch it off. And yes, that was like, you don't sleep for 2 days after that. The adrenaline, I cannot. You've probably been in a situation like that where you've had an adrenaline surge, and then night 3 you just sleep like a baby. Like you could sleep for 2 days after that. But that's the shit I live for. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the follow up. For me, putting the puppies on the scent and closing the deal on a pig that's been shot. That to me is like, so that pig, we had such an interaction with it, but it wasn't a close call that it nearly chomped us or charred us, or it was purely trying to find the dog that was irritating the hell out of it.
So was that the moment then that you realized that maybe you need to be using something other than a bow?
Correct. So that's when we decided, listen.
Pause 1 second.
Okay.
I'm going to check the camera and then we'll carry on.
Okay.
I think I might need to take a piss.
Yeah, me too, but we need to walk away from the bait for that.
Oh, okay. Let's do that.
Let's take it. Can I take this off?
Take it off. We're going to get back to this mind-boggling conversation in just a second, but first I wanted to ask you to do me a favor. If you haven't already, just give the podcast a follow or a subscribe, depending on however you like to listen to this podcast. That would be fantastic. And if you have the time, it would be amazing if you could just leave a positive review. It often goes a long way as well if you write a little something. With the algorithms, they tend to really push this podcast up. It's growing and growing. It's really exciting to see. But obviously, every little helps. So if you could take a moment to do that, it would be really appreciated. Where were we? We were just talking about... Okay, so that was maybe the instigator that made you feel like you need to start having a spear with you rather than a bow, hey?
Yeah, so that was definitely one of the factors.
Okay.
I had this stupid idea, or I had this thought of hunting a pig with a spear. Or maybe like a progression from a bow as well. And I'd help my wife's aunt move, and one of the last pieces that we moved was this little spear that was on like the landing as you come up the stairs on the wall, like more of like a artifact than anything else, like a decoration.
Yeah.
I don't think it was actually meant to be a weapon at some stage, but it was an old thing.
Yeah.
And she said, "Yeah, do you want this?" So it was like, at least it was like a nice just reward for spending my day moving, because moving someone else's house is a pain in the ass. But in any case, I got this reward of this little spear. It's just over a meter long. And to me, this looked like the real deal, this thing. It was like, I didn't realize it actually need to be a bit bigger, so you've got a bit more reach and whatever. So in any case, I used to carry this thing around with me, and I chatted to a couple of mates, and I said, I'm keen to hunt a pig with a spear. So we were having a braai down at the river with our wives, and some of the guys weren't married, and there were like 3 couples there, and I'd planted maize, and the bush pigs come and raid our maize. And the maize land is probably the start of it is probably 150 meters from where we braai down at the river. So after a couple of brandies, the one guy says, "Well, why don't we go hunt a pig in the millies?" So I said, "Well, the pigs have been coming in, but what we've been drinking. We've each had 2 brandies. It's not a very clever idea. You don't mix alcohol and gunpowder, and you shouldn't mix alcohol and spears either." But in any case, the oak's like, "Are you chicken?" I'm like, "Yes, but don't threaten me. I'm like coming up with all these excuses because I don't think it's a great idea. So I said, listen, the spear's flipping blunt. He says, where's the spear? He says, on the back of the truck. He says, yeah, let me sharpen it. He takes a brick and he starts sharpening the thing. He's like now you in a corner now, peer pressure. I have never really succumbed to peer pressure, but that night, so maybe it was the brandy, I don't know. But I thought, well, let me humor these guys and we'll just take a walk.
Go for a walk, yeah.
Maybe,
probably won't see anything.
Maybe we get a porcupine or whatever.
Yeah,
and with all the noise, I thought these pigs will probably come in later. They're probably not even there, but just to shut him up, I won't mention names of who was with me at night, but let's just go. Take us 10 minutes. So we said to the ladies, listen, excuse us, so they were thinking this is a stupid idea, but he said, you chill here at the fire, we'll be back now. We're gonna get the coffee ready, we're gonna go and hunt a quick pig. Any case, Brandy was with me, the dog, and we get to the gate, and I throw the dog over and I said to the guys, listen, this land is long, it's 400 meters long, there's a little triangle in it, and you guys go down the center, I'm going to go to the hole. So this land's netted, but there's one main hole that over the years the pigs have that's been there. There's been one or two other holes that they've pushed, but we've tried to keep them closed. So these pigs keep opening this main hole because that's on their path. So I said to them, I want to go sit at the hole. You guys walk down this 400 meters mealy land, pick the odd cob, throw it to make a bit of noise. You guys make a racket. And the one at the Bristol, little guy said, well, they said, well, we need weapons too, So I'd given the one guy the ngoma stick in my truck, and I'd given the other chap he took the stove poker, which we pull the coals out from underneath the grid. It's like a long sneezewood pole, like a sneezewood dropper with a piece of 16mm round bar with a piece of angle line welded onto it.
Okay.
So that was his weapon.
Quick question though.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and say this now. Ngoma.
Ngoma.
Okay.
So it's a wild olive knobkerry.
Okay, so basically it's like a piece of stick that's maybe half a meter long.
No, but longer, close to a meter, maybe 900-ish.
So about almost 3 feet long, and it's like with a knot.
A bit of a gubu on the top that's cut from a thicker branch. So where a little branch goes up. Yeah. Off a bigger branch, you cut it on each side of the bigger branch, and you shape a round
so it's like
section,
a knob on the top.
It's like a traditional weapon that the guys used to fight with and that type of thing.
Okay.
So that was the one I got the ngoma stick, and I didn't have a very big gubu on it, just had a small gubu on it, but it's a thing that you carry. A lot of the farmers carry them around in the truck to hit the odd bloody troublemaker or a...
Yes,
or
it's like a
porcupine. It's just to have a weapon that you need. Just a backup.
And the language that you're speaking then, is that Xhosa?
Xhosa, yes.
Because I can't say it either.
Yeah, so it's a wild olive is a ngoma tree.
Okay.
It's a beautiful tree, and it's a very hard wood.
Okay.
So hence you use it for sticks.
For hitting things.
Yes.
Okay.
So I had this little spear. I had my dog. These guys had a stove poker and a ngoma stick, and they had, I think, one torch between the two of them, and I had a torch with me, a headlamp. So Brandy and I are sitting at this hole, and I get there and I think, well, if this pig comes, do I do it this way? Well, like kind of you were asking yesterday, how do you do it?
Overarm or underarm?
Yeah, but so with this short little spear, I thought, well, if I'm doing it this way, this pig's going to be on top of me. So I've kind of figured I've got to hold this thing this way,
like a big
kind
underarm thrust,
almost like and it's too light to throw this thing, so you're not really going to accomplish anything by throwing. You got to Georgia it, So in any case, I thought I said a little prayer, and I thought, well, hopefully there's no pigs in the land. And I heard these guys go, and I said to him, give me 5 minutes to get to the hole. So must have been 3 minutes. I don't think I can contain the excitement, and I heard them breaking mealie cobs and throwing and laughing like two little excited girls down this flippin' row of mealies. See the odd torch flash, and off they went. Yes, and they got to the end. I thought, well, that's it. There's nothing in this land. So, but often pigs just sit tight, and that's what happened until they turned and they almost walked into this, or must have got a bit too intense for this pig. Couldn't hold his nerve anymore, and there was one pig in this land, and it was a It wasn't a very big pig. It was like a 3/4 grown sow. So, any case, this pig took off down back towards its hole where I was at. And I just heard mealie stalks breaking like skittles. Like, I thought, oh gosh, here we go. This dog starts growling, and any case, I couldn't hold my nerve anymore, and I switched the torch on, and this pig overshot the mark, overshot the path through the mealies that it gets to the fence, and hit the fence about 20 meters beyond the hole, maybe 10, trying to get through this netting wire fence with this brandy off after this pig to try and catch this thing. So any case, and I'd bush cut between the mealies and the fence, an area that you could see.
Yes.
So you can walk and you don't get seeds in your vehicle when you drive around there, whatever. So the grass was short. And the dog's after this pig, and each time the pig hits the fence, Brandy's gaining on this pig. And it's getting she's getting closer, and the pigs, and I'm shouting, Brandy, come! And the ladies are hearing this commotion from the river, and they're thinking someone's getting slaughtered in the flippin' mealie land. I'm shouting at the top of my voice, and nothing's calling this dog back. And we're running now back towards the Bra place, although it's a land and it's separated by a road. But what I'm saying is we're about 100 meters from them now, 150 meters, 200 meters maybe at max, and they can hear all this commotion.
Yeah.
And the pig gets to the corner, and where I couldn't cut with a bush cutter, there was still quite a lot of, like a triangle of long grass, and the pig into there, and the dog thinks, well, this pig's got through the fence, so the dog's into the flippin' triangle as well. And next thing, out comes the dog with the pig in hot pursuit, chasing the flippin' dog down the bushcut path towards me, thinking, oh my gosh, here we go. So I'm standing about a meter off the fence, and with this pig's gaining on this dog, and it's getting a bit too hot for this dog, so she thought, well, I'm out, and she took off into the mealies. And this pig came past me, between me and the fence, and I flippin' charged it with a spear, like an overhead shot, from the top. And I hit it in the like through the scuff, like in the scuff,
Is that like a collarbone or like the shoulder?
No, like it's like the hump,
Oh,
it's
the
like
hump on the back.
The no man's land where the spine dips down very low in a pig.
Where
but
you don't want to hit with a bow.
Yeah, it's a place like where you don't want to hit not that a pig's got a scuff, but it's above the shoulders. It's like this chunk of meat.
Yeah.
By the kind of probably where all the sinews and stuff run to hold the pig's head up. And
yes.
so I hit it through there, not into the cavity, and it kind of pulled the spear, and I managed to hold on, and it bent the spear half, almost broke it out of the wooden thing. It's so old, and I held back, pulled it out, and the pig took off. And I look up and I see these two guys standing there, these two mates of mine standing there, and I'm thinking, in that second I thought, oh my gosh, these oaks, they're going to get charred by this pig, and I'm going to have to explain to their wives that it was like my fault, although it wasn't my idea to go for these things. But the first oak hits it with a stick on the head. I thought these oaks were going to take off, but they stood their ground. Maybe a bit of brandy courage, I don't know. The first oak hit it on the head, glanced off, did nothing to it, and the next oak had a bit of a delayed reaction with this heavy thing, and he hit it on the back, and it just glanced off, and the pig carried on, and now back at the hole and got out.
So it escaped.
It got out of the hole that I was initially, because I'd been running up the fence, added to the corner.
Where you were standing, okay.
And I'm like, thank God that thing's flipping gone. I'm like, the Oak's like, geez, how's that? Like, everyone's like excited, guys get like, yes, no way, it's flipping, hit that thing. And Oak's like, I hit it. I said, Oaks, I've speared that thing. Like, no, you're talking cuck. I said, look on this, here's a broken dropper. This thing hit the dropper, check the blood. Now, the thing with the spear is a thing bleeds. It bleeds quite a bit, especially if you all the way through. So I've got an entry and an exit. It's a big hole, and it's bleeding like quite a bit. And they're like, no way, as he flipping actually did get that thing. So in any case, we decided it was probably a good idea to go pack up the bra. Tell the ladies that the bra's over. Everybody needs to go home now, and we go home up the road and go and get some guns and stuff, and off we go. The one ex-girlfriend, she left. She left before we even got to them. She, with all this noise and stuff, she wasn't
She wasn't happy.
Wasn't happy with all this commotion, and not really a bit of a bunny hug, I suppose. But she just left.
Yeah.
He had to find his own way home. She went with a car.
Oh, wow.
So in any case, so we went home, fetched another dog, and fetched a couple of rifles, and we searched for that pig until, I don't know, probably that dogs had barked. It had a commotion, a rumble with it in the river that night in the Ganubi, and then they'd taken off up a hill, and I followed, and we just couldn't find them, and eventually called it off at about 3:30 in the morning and went home, got some sleep, and I was like, adamant, I want to find this pig. So I went back the next day, went halfway up that hill, but it just was niggling me that I hadn't found any blood up that hill where the dog had gone.
Yeah.
And in any case, I went to let's just go have a look in the vicinity of where those dogs had a bit of a rumble with it in the river the night before, or the one, yeah. So went there, and they actually bumped into it. It was lying down in the water. Obviously, I don't know if it had run out of blood or if it was just feeling a bit delirious or what, but this pig was lying down in water, probably only like that deep, like.
And was it alive at that point?
Still alive, but sitting down like a dog sits, with its feet underneath it.
Maybe it was thirsty. Sometimes when animals are wounded, they go to water.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's where it was, and I finished. So shot it with a rifle, so it wasn't a pure spear kill, but it ignited something in me, and then I just wanted to put the bow down and hunt things with a spear from then on. So. Yeah, it's a different level of excitement and intensity, and you don't get half as meager, maybe a 20th of the animals you'd get if you're hunting with a bow. Every now and again, you're lucky to connect, but I've missed a hell of a lot more than I've got.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that we have speared is things that we followed up on with, because then we started taking a spear with on bow hunts.
Okay, yeah, just as a backup.
To follow up. Once you've shot the thing with a bow, because a lot of the places we in the middle of nowhere, you don't take a rifle with and leave it in the vehicle while you're hunting with a bow. Yeah. In case it gets stolen or whatever. So we've started taking spears with, and it's been a handy tool to use. It's come in handy a lot.
I've got to say, I mean, we did a little bit of it yesterday, and it was fun walking with you. With the spear in hand, it feels like a very different thing.
It's a primal feeling, and it's and also like the combination of spear and dog. It almost feels right. Like that's how
like
our
ancient
forefathers used to hunt.
Yeah,
I love it. It's
also interesting. I've never hunted with dogs before, and it's definitely interesting witnessing. So yesterday, I took a shot on a pretty big warthog in the corn maze in the millies, but I missed, unfortunately. I shot just over its head. I'm going to say just over its head, but we'll never really know.
A tank of a pig.
It was a big pig.
Yeah.
But seeing how quickly that pig ran, it went like through the
pines.
There was pineapples. Sorry, not millies. You're right. It was the pineapple section.
Yeah.
And then instantly, your dog just straight on the tail of that pig, like chasing it down. And it was a bit of a light on moment in my head where it's like, wow, okay, you can lean on tracking skills and all those kinds of amazing ancient skills that humans have had, but it's never going to quite compare to a dog that has the power of scent to be able to follow an animal quickly.
And how incredible is it that dog turned when she realized that pig wasn't wounded?
Yeah.
It's like an amazing, like normally you'd think, okay, that dog's is going to keep on at this.
Just keep going. You're not going to get
kind
control.
of assume that it's been hit, but when she realized that pig wasn't hit, she just turned. And it was in plain sight of us. We could see it nicely on that road.
That video.
And luckily, we actually happened to video it. But so dogs in the Eastern Cape is actually what they call an illegal hunting method. You're not allowed hunting with dogs per se, but you can use them for tracking.
Okay.
You're allowed using them for tracking, and that is where these German hunting terriers have come. So we took out Don and I took a client came, a PH brought a outfitter brought a client from American client to come and hunt with us many years ago. Hell
Yeah.
of a nice man. And we followed up on some pigs over the next couple of nights that he was here with the jackies. And unfortunately, my jackies were coming on in age, getting old, and they just weren't quite
Oh, you mean Jack Russell?
putting enough. Yes, they
Okay.
weren't putting enough pressure on the pigs that had been hit to make them stand and bay them, so we could get there to finish them off. And so the PH, a hell of a nice chap too, he actually said, I'm going to send you some dogs that are going to change your whole setup. And didn't think much of it at the time, but about 6 months later he sent 2 of these German hunting terriers down for us, and Don couldn't take his because of where he was staying, and so I ended up with both of them, and we started hunting with these dogs, and just to see the difference, because we've never been exposed to anything like that. It wasn't a well-known breed in our country.
Yeah.
And yes, what a game changer. I mean, we started hunting these crop raiding pigs in the millies
Mm-hmm.
with the jackies, and then we started with both, with the jackies and the German hunting terriers, and to see how quick they were. They're a lot taller on their feet, like the size of a fox terrier almost.
Uh-huh.
But their hunting instinct is, I mean, the jackies were still, not taking anything away from the jackies, but like I say, mine were getting a bit old. They were still looking for the pigs in the millies, and the German hunting terriers had these pigs cornered against the far corner of the land already. And you'd have to get your ass there quickly because things can go pear-shaped
Yeah.
fast. So it was a light bulb moment seeing, and so now that is so we've bred these dogs, and myself and William have been lucky enough to import another line because we were short of bloodlines in the country.
Okay, so it's
And-
good to have a mixture.
Yes, so yeah, we've hunted with them extensively, and we've been called to help out on like Wounded Buff a couple of times too with them, with the terriers, because a lot of
They're so tiny.
they're so tiny, but I can promise you they will take on, if you had 10 ferocious lions in a room and you had a German hunting terrier there, and a Jackie would probably do the same, go in and die fighting, but there's no ways you're going to stop that dog from having a go.
Yeah.
He'll flip and back himself. So that's what I love about them. They're not, so you it takes a special kind of person to have a bond with a dog, and certain dogs are quite, certain breeds are quite a strong breed for some people. Not everybody's, you got to work with them, and you
Okay.
also need to set the foundation and discipline them and
Train them hard.
train
at the
them
beginning.
hard, train them properly, but they just want to hunt.
Yeah.
And the tracking collars, I was given 2 tracking collars, and it's a game changer to actually, because they're so quick. Next thing you look, they're over the hill and you can't hear them. So the tracking collars, you know where to go and find the dog. And so we've changed our thing with the bow hunting. It's so important to have a dog close at hand. So often we'd have them in the boxes on the back of the vehicle.
Mm.
But then once you've shot an animal, you got to walk all the way back, could be 5 k's to go fetch the dog. Whereas now we've trained the dogs to walk with us, and once the arrow goes, you let the dog go, and you've got a dog on a hot scent
Yes.
straight away, which is an absolute game changer too. So it has been an invaluable tool that has saved us many hours and has accounted for, I can tell you that half of the stories I've got, maybe more than half, definitely 90% of stories I wouldn't have, because we wouldn't have found those animals
Yes.
if it wasn't for the
Yeah,
dogs,
absolutely.
the jackies and the German hunting terriers. So yeah, it's I still breed the jackies. I'll always have jackies, but they are like different tools for different purposes.
Yeah.
They bring their own skill set to the party.
So something, sorry to just switch gears, or it's not so much switch gears, but just switch back for a second, I've realized,
Okay.
is that we have, for people who are watching, there's something over your shoulder right here. You have your spears with you. You have like a few of them. Maybe let's just talk about them a second. I mean, obviously bear in mind that some people are going to be not watching, so maybe give it a bit of a description as well. I'm just going to make sure that this camera's working properly a second. Yeah.
Sure. So So this is probably my favorite spear. It is more of a jojang, or like a
shorter thing.
stabbing spear, like an assegai type of thing, than a throwing spear.
Okay.
It's just got a old hoe handle that I bought from the hardware store, but a friend of mine actually molded it. It's got like an octagonal shape to it. So we make these out of spring steel in the raw form. And then,
So do you hammer it? You have like...
No, so it's actually we grind it, more grind.
Okay, because you have loads of gear in your shop.
Yeah. So you can hammer it, but it's a longer process. We tend to grind them, and now lately we've actually laser cut the blanks. So I take the blanks and I have them laser cut because it cuts down on a lot of time with grinding.
Yeah.
And then you go to the key with spring steel is to temper it to the right. I think it goes to like 750 degrees or something ridiculous, and then it gets cooled down just to bring in the tensile, bring the actual make it springy, put it that way, so that it doesn't bend when you use it.
Because if you throw it and it hits something, then there's a lot of force pulling against it.
Correct. So I've made them that, so it's got a collar. I've quickly realized that you need a collar to protect the wood in the front, otherwise it just breaks out of the wood.
Okay, yes.
So this is kind of a spear that I've used the most because it's nice and short and compact, and it's been sharpened so much that there's not much left of the actual blade. So it's time to probably retire this and put it on the wall somewhere at home, and it can spark an odd story or two when people ask about it.
That's the thing of beauty.
So that is very close to my heart, that one. And
that's the one that you took with us yesterday when we were walking.
Yeah, that would be my first choice of spear. It's not a throwing spear, and I also don't. I prefer the up close and personal.
Like a thrusting spear.
Thrusting would probably be the right word than throwing. And then I wanted to try and hunt with a spear. So hunting with a spear, so that would be for following up on wounded animals, mainly.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah.
And then then I realized I needed something that I can get a bit, because animals are going to stand still for you in the daytime for you to walk up to it and stab it with a spear.
No.
So I needed a bit more reach, and I needed a throw. So I started looking around for the right, and I think that bamboo is probably the right. It's strong and it's light.
Yes.
So you need something. I mean, a heavy flipping spear, you're not going to throw very far. It's just going to drop. So this bamboo is kind of what I used, and we put the reflective tape on it just so that you can find it at night easier.
Yeah.
Same spring steel, and then I started using the nguma, turning a piece of nguma, because it's obviously just hollow inside the bamboo. So I turned like a nguma ferrule on the lathe.
Yeah, okay.
And
that's the olive wood.
Yes. It's an insert that goes into the bamboo, into the hollow space of the bamboo, and it's got a hole through it, and then I have like a little washer welded onto the front so that it stops, otherwise it's just going to push through into the back.
Yes.
So that's kind of just, and I've just looked at designs on the net, and it's not all my type of design, but it's just change it and make it work according to yours. So it's not like I'm not professing to have designed this thing from scratch. It's the most primitive thing that's been around. I think it's a company. It's killed a lot of animals in Africa.
It's been feeding humans for millennia.
100%, and it's such an incredible thing to do. So I've missed more than I've hit with it.
Yeah.
But it's and then I've got a couple of mates that I don't really like sitting up a tree and spearing from the top, although it is exciting. I like doing it on the ground.
Yeah. Me too.
But there is a place for this, and I don't know if it's maybe because I find it difficult. I battle with it. I've missed a couple of pigs from the tree. The trick is to not try and force it. You got to kind of just guide it. You want to be right above them. So
this is like a heavier.
So this is a heavier spear. It belongs to a mate of mine. I made it for him. It's also out of spring steel, and it's got a little ring there that you can tie it or hang it or pull it up with it up the tree. Once you up the tree, and then you kind of just drop it down onto the pigs. So that would not. It's too heavy to throw on the ground.
Yeah, you just wouldn't get very
correct.
far.
So that is a dropping spear, and those are generally the three
that
the 3 kind of spears that I make and that I use and that I enjoy doing. Yeah.
It's almost like that dropping spear. For some reason, it makes me think of like the oldie whale hunting.
Like a harpoon kind of a
It
thing.
looks a bit like a harpoon.
Yes.
It's got that kind of look to it.
Yeah, so you need something that's heavy enough to just do its thing, to let gravity do its thing, and they sail through. They just sail through, but a peg. But you got to hit it in the right place. And there's nothing that kills. Some people think spear hunting is inhumane. I think it is probably the most humane way of killing. So they bleed hectically, and it's over in no time.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's just about how people understand
it's just
it, right?
the perception of it, I think.
Yeah. So there's something. I'm looking at time. We've probably got time. I would love to have you back for another pod at some point, like get you, because I know you've got a lot of stories. I've heard so many this weekend that have made my jaw drop, literally.
Yeah.
Some of those maybe we can't share, but one thing that I would love to ask you about, you have a story that you told. I mean, obviously, you progressed rifle hunting, bow hunting, spear hunting, but you have actually wrestled and fought and killed an animal with less tools than a spear, with a certain bushbuck, right?
Yeah, bushbuck ram with a jersey.
With a like a t-shirt, hey?
It was a jersey. No, it was.
So what's a jersey? Like
a jumper, I think you call them.
Like a jumper.
It's like when you get cold, you put is a jump called a jumper.
Yeah, we call it a jumper in England and a sweater in America.
Okay, so we call it a jersey. Yeah.
So you've actually, and to set this up, a bushbuck is, I mean, and this isn't from you. I've heard this from other people say, like, just watch out. A bushbuck is a dangerous animal. Like, it's got incredibly sharp horns and they're very aggressive.
Yeah, they can be. It's an animal that will mind its own business, but wounded, pound for pound, I think. So I have a notch or two more respect for a wounded ram than a wounded bush pig. Not that I don't respect a wounded bush pig. I'm just saying, apex-wise, I think wounded bushbuck ram is probably the most aggressive. And if you see them fighting, 2 bushbuck rams fighting, you'll just look at it in absolute awe and think, jeepers, the speed of it. I've seen bushbuck rams bayed by dogs, and the hairs up, they buckled like a wound up elastic band, horns down, and you cannot believe how fast that thing can cover distance. I mean, it's accounted for probably the most dogs killed in South Africa or wherever bushbuck occur. You get different species up north as well, but wounded bushbuck ram is probably the most formidable. I'd say even more than a buffalo.
Wow, really?
I've had limited experience with buffalo hunting, only 5. Like going to help out guys with wounded buff and
using
stuff,
your dogs to
with
find
the puppies, yes. But so I haven't been in a really hectic situation with that. But bushbuck ram wise, it is for an animal that size.
Yeah.
What he can do to you in the time that he can do it, it is like. I can't even start trying to explain it to you.
Yeah, you can just like duck and turn, and with the sharp horns have your guts out everywhere.
Man, they are next level.
Huh.
They're next level, and they got sharp horns. But
so tell me this story then. Like,
okay, so I'll let you read that story. It's in our family hunting book.
Okay.
But yeah, so to tell you what happened, we were hunting in the Southwell area.
Okay.
Hunting bushbuck. Many years ago, my cousin's friend's family had a farm there, and we were invited to go and hunt. So we would go on our family hunt once a year, and my cousins documented that in the book. And it's been going on since early days. My dad's been organizing this with my uncles, and we go, and there's something nice traditionally passed down to my boys. Have been coming now the last couple of years, and it's an incredible thing. It's a really special thing to do. So, in any case, we were now hunting at Wayne's place, and we'd now gone from our camp base on his farm to his in-laws or family of his in Southwell, which is probably like a maybe a half an hour, 45-minute drive.
Okay.
And we're now hunting. So we were quite excited to be hunting because Southwell is now a real bushbuck, proper like hunting in bushbuck heaven. There's big rams
It's
there,
thick with bushbuck.
and there's lots of bushbuck there.
Okay.
Yes, so we were super excited. And this particular morning, I got sent to a position with like a bala. A bala is a big open area, normally on the top of a hill.
Okay.
And there was this little clump of trees there, and one prominent tree in this bala. And I was walking up towards this bala, and I noticed a bushbuck ewe or two grazing, and next thing I see is a ram, but I wasn't actually sure. It was a very light coloured ram. It looked through the binocs, and I saw, yes, this is a proper flippin' like almost a 15-inch bushbuck ram here. So got excited, and I had my little Jackie with me, so I told her to sit, and I took my belt off, and I put my binocs down, and I walked a bit closer, and my knife was on my belt. Stupid thing to do, but in any case, I didn't need it at the time. I left it there, and I walked up, and I saw this ram, and I don't know if I tried to get too close or what, but they might have scented me, and they moved off this bala, and they were gone. So we then got picked up by the vehicle, and we all joined up for lunch, and the guys were saying, well, okay, who's going where this afternoon, as the normal discussion happens, or who wants to go where type of thing. So normally the older toppies get to choose first, but when it was my turn, I said, look, I'd love to go back to where I was this morning, because twofold, I've seen a huge bushbuck ram there. I'd love to get him.
Yeah.
And also I called my dog, but I'd forgot my flippin' belt, and my knife was on my belt, and my binocs were at the gate where I'd left them when I walked up to the top of this hill. So I need to go back and fetch that. So in any case, granted, they gave me the privilege of going back to that spot, and unknown to me, Wayne and his son were up on top of another krantz, but they could see this bala from a distance. So with this, I went to go and sit in this tree, so
Okay.
I could have a vantage point over this whole area.
That same tree where you had been.
The tree that I'd seen on top of this bala.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
hadn't really paid much attention to it earlier, but
Yeah.
trying to get in the right position, wind's coming from that side, I need to be this side. Okay, here's a tree, and I love climbing trees, so I climbed up this tree with my 308, but I didn't want to go across this bala to go fetch my gun belt in case I'd now buggered up the rest of the hunt for this bushbuck had smelt me or whatever, and stuff up my chances of getting this ram. So I thought, I've got 4 bullets here. I'll spend the afternoon in the tree, and before the truck fetches me, I'll go or when the truck gets here, we'll ask them to go past and go pick up my gun belt and my knife and my binocs. In any case, I'm up this tree, and not long out comes a ewe, and lo and behold, out comes this bushbuck ram. And these rams, when they get old, they kind of lose that color. Some are darker than others, but when they get really old, they get like a woolly color to them, and like lighter. But this one was particularly like almost like a reddish ram. In any case, so the wind had picked up a bit, and this tree was swaying a little bit, and in any case, I steadied myself, and I went for what I thought was a good shot, and I flippin' pulled the shot, and I hit this ram in the back leg, just above the knee here. Broke his back leg.
Yeah.
And he took off across this bala, across me like this. So when the shot went off, Wayne and his son started paying attention to what was going on, and they saw this, and they saw me literally almost fall out this tree, because I'd shot the rest of my bullets out at this ram crossing this bala, but I'd missed him.
Okay, so you shot once, and then we're like,
I hit him.
Shit.
I knew I'd hit him
Fired a
because of the reaction, and his back leg was flapping. But it's amazing how they can cover ground on 3 legs.
Yes.
So he took off across this bala, and I literally almost dropped myself out of the tree, because I wanted to see where he's going now, because I've got no more bullets. I needed to see where this, and I don't know where. I don't know what I'd done with my dog, but she was with me earlier, but I think I'd left on the truck or whatever, because for whatever reason. And so I had nothing with me. Left the gun against the tree, and I took off across this gap, and these oaks are watching this from a distance and thinking, what the hell is this oak doing chasing this bushbuck ram across this gap? And it had just disappeared from sight, and I got to the bush line. I'm thinking, where the hell is this thing? And I looked down, and there was this ram lying down in the long grass here on the bush line. So we looked at each other for a while, and for a bit, and I thought, well, there's no use in just letting this stretch out. I need to try and grab. I'm going to lose. This is a 15-inch bushbuck ram.
It's a nice bushbuck.
I'm not going to let this bushbuck get away.
So how far away is it at that point?
It's 2 meters, 3 meters from me.
Wow. Okay, so like 6 feet.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's sitting down. It's not standing, fortunately. So, in any case, I've grabbed this ram by the flippin' pins, and we start wrestling with each other. And he tries to get up, and we're rolling and we're wrestling, and Wayne's watching us from across the way. What the hell is this like doing with this flippin' bushbuck? So I try and suffocate it. For some reason, I thought of how the lions kill buffalo. They've put their mouth over the buff's nose. You know, I've seen that lionesses.
Yeah.
That's how they suffocate it. The only thing I could do was kill this thing by suffocation.
It's like in those moments with like, I guess it's like you're fighting for your, like both fighting.
Yeah.
It's like memories come from somewhere, right?
And in any case, I grabbed this ram and I tried to stop him from breathing, and I was really battling to, and eventually I could see, okay, I'm winning this fight. Yeah, well, I thought I was winning this fight, and eventually he'd start kicking, and he'd go on his side, and he's kicking, and you got to watch those hooves or coming past you, and you got to try and keep him. I tried to put his horns in the ground, like we've been told,
to like make them safe.
At least you got the business end of it like secure, to try and anchor him to the ground, and I couldn't turn him over. He was too strong, and in any case, I've got him, and I can see he's losing strength here, and I'm flipping losing strength too. I'm flipping exhausted, you know. And I thought, okay, it's over, and I let go, and he sucked a flipping big breath of air there, and it was back to how he was. And I'm thinking, well, if I let go here, I am tickets. They'll pick me up here next to this flipping ram if he's still here when they get here. And there's just, it's you just know you can't. It's just a thing. If I let go, I'm game over here. The thing will flip and put his horns through my guts, and I'll be finished. So you're holding on for dear life, and you're thinking, and I thought, well, fuck, my only other option is to try and strangle this thing with my jersey. Don't know how that idea came to my fucking mind, but it did. And I'm holding this ram, and now I'm thinking, well, to get this jersey off, I need to let go one hand. So I'm like wriggling here, and I don't know what these oaks were thinking watching this, but I managed to get this jersey off my head, letting go one hand at a time, get it off, and now I've got the jersey around my arms here like this, still on my arms, and I'm flipping to try and now I've got to get this jersey over this ram's flipping head. So now I'm like dressing this like thing. He's like saying, he's like, oh, Aubrey's putting his jersey on this bushbuck ram. But now this thing's on his feet. I'm standing. This ram's standing, and we like pushing each other, and I'm losing strength here quick. I know I need to make a flipping plan here. So I managed to get the jersey off me, over his flipping horn, one horn at a time, and over his head, and I managed to just turn it until it wouldn't turn anymore, and I managed to
It's like tourniquet
him like that. And it was such a relief when he eventually went down, because it was gonna be me. So luckily I had the jersey, and luckily the idea worked, because if that plan didn't work, I was kind of out of options.
Yeah, you're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah.
That's a wild story, man.
Yeah, so it was just the angels were there too.
Yeah, I don't think you're not making a plan to switch from spear hunting to jersey hunting.
No, but I don't think that's an option. That one, I haven't hunted enough with a spear quite yet to get to that point. I don't think. But yeah, my boys are trying to get me back into bow hunting, and I was blessed with a bow. Reg Grant and Reg Stain gave me a bow a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Bowtech Rain 7, which I loved. It was also one of those revelation bows that came on the market and took everything by storm. And then I gave it to my son, my oldest son Aiden, and it became his bow. And then he subsequently got another bow, and I think he got another bow because they gave that one back to me, him and Corbs, and want to really get me back into bow hunting, probably because I don't come back with much with a spear. I don't know what it is, but yeah, so maybe we'll fling the thing. But once you've tasted that spear hunting, it's just, I'm afraid to say bow hunting will never be the same.
Oh, I mean, I know, but I
you've
can't.
tasted it with the recurve.
With the recurve, hey. It's,
Am I right in saying once you shot an animal with a recurve?
Yeah, it's just like it's a harder, more significant achievement, and then a bigger dopamine high because of like I mean, I still think now, and I can only imagine what it must be like for you. But like when you've taken an animal with a recurve, and I mean, like the last animal I took, I was like somehow me and my friend Ross were within 20 yards of this two red hartebeest animals for like 35 minutes, and like just the luck and the ability for us to stay focused and be able to make a shot in that time, then like the sense of achievement, I still don't quite believe that it actually managed to happen.
You almost pinch yourself and say, like, all the stars need to align, everything needs to be perfect. Like,
yeah
like, but you're talking about that dopamine thing yesterday, and like ADHD guys like us need that because you don't get the dopamine high, so you need to do crazy shit like we do to just get that fix. Because if I haven't had an adrenaline rush in a while, I'd become miserable. And
no, it's true.
And you become depressed, and but the focus you can have with something that you're talking to Aiden about yesterday, like something that excites you. And I mean, I waited 3 months for the perfect night to spear a pig, like a pure self-filmed spear hunt on a bush pig, and from like 7 meters on the ground, and to wait for all of that, to wait for the perfect night and discipline yourself to wait for the right wind and not go when it's convenient for you to go. And the moon and the flippin', it's like, and for it to all come together and happen, it's like a miracle.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so the other thing that's pretty amazing is that you do film, like you said, you film these adventures and you put this stuff out into the world. So, I mean, I've watched some of your videos, and there's a lot of incredible stuff that you've sent me, but also things I've seen on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, some that all the kids have got a YouTube channel.
Okay, well, I should say the kids, but you're involved as well. You're the camera guy.
I
right?
get to tag along with the camera and follow up with the puppies afterwards.
You're part of the team, that's for sure.
That's my deal. Yeah, so Corbs and his mate have got this thing called Bushveld Bow Hunting, and they've put out some great content there, and Aiden. And it's such a privilege just to have kids that love the outdoors and love bow hunting and love the things that I love. It's to spend time with them in the bush and bond, and it's like
you can't make them love it.
You cannot make them love it.
No.
And I'm just blessed that and my younger guy Jack, he's also starting to show a love for the outdoors and been blessed with a nice cute little bow from a mate of mine's son that's outgrown his one. So I can't wait for Jack's first bow kill, and it's so nice to capture these things on camera so that you can relive them. Although the ones that you haven't got on camera, the vivid ones are kind of, like I said, burnt in your mind, and you can watch them over and over and over again. Yeah,
man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, even like with this podcast, it's the having great conversations and capturing people's stories, but also like I was doing while we're off yesterday in the pineapples, trying to get a warthog. Those memories being captured as like sound bites and things, and then putting them together as a story.
Yes.
That then for me, I'm sure it's going to be like, that's going to be my photo album when I'm 80 years old.
Correct.
I can go and listen to that.
Yeah. I look back on our old photo album, and a lot of those photos are starting to fade. And then along came cell phones, and that's the nice thing about Instagram and stuff. You save it there. It's there, because I hate to think of the videos and pictures that I've lost on cell phones that have died, that I was too slack to download onto a hard drive. I mean, there must be some hunts there that I'd love to see again. Stuff that we've actually filmed. It's like, whoa. But in any case,
it's the way it goes, I guess.
That's how it goes.
The way it goes. I'm just going to have a last little look at my... So, okay. We were just talking about the importance of stories and the fact that they can just go away. I mean, I guess like as long as history's been going with humankind, those stories have been passed on. But like you just said to me, it's never quite the same unless it's from the person that was in there, right? And that's something that's been interesting to you for quite a while. Yeah,
I love listening to stories, and it's specifically hunting stories. And dog, as in hunting dog stories.
Okay.
I love chatting to the old people, and now that we've got the means of recording it, I've done a couple with this, with a couple of people I know and people I've been introduced to, that I know. Okay, this uncle, like it's not difficult to find. You say, well, who's the real characters in your area, or who's got some great hunting stories, and the names come through. But it's very difficult when you don't have you don't actually know them, because I suppose maybe there isn't that trust relationship with the guys thinking, well, what the hell you want to do with my stories, type of thing,
Yes.
So, but like, I sat down with my uncle, my late uncle, and I'm so glad I did, because we've listened to these hunting stories, phenomenal hunting stories from when we were kids. And I sat down with him a few years ago. I'm thinking, yes, he's coming on in age. I need to document these stories. And I sat down with him and I recorded some of like incredible hunting stories of my grandpa, his dad, and my dad's the younger brother, his younger brother, and there were 4 brothers. And like I say, we've heard all of these stories, but those stories go to the grave with everybody takes their stories to the grave with them. And it's such a loss, because like I said to you, no one can retell a story like you can tell it. Like, even the guy's son who's been listening to his hunting stories for 20 years, is listening to his dad retell them to the mates and stuff at the hunts around the campfires, can't retell it the way. And it's little things, and it's the way they say it, and it's little nuances and accents and words they specifically use. And so yeah, I want to do more of it. I need to make a plan and make the time. I think it's so important, so that you can save those things on these platforms and on YouTube for future generations to go and look at and say, well, wow, that's how they did things then. And it's like a treasure trove of stories out there. There's what nicer is it than listen to an old man telling you a story of him hunting with his dad and their favorite dog.
Yeah.
It's like incredible.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the stories that you've told me this weekend have blown my mind.
But
Like,
it's
so many amazing
so
things.
what I'm saying is, we need to save these things for us and whoever's interested in listening to them. It is absolutely incredible.
So then the other thing that I was talking to you about was the fact you mentioned it before briefly, the book that was kind of made of your family,
so
like local stories.
So it's something that I wouldn't want to put out into the public domain, because it's our family book. But it's a great idea for people to actually document their family life. And it's such a tradition that we have, to having a family hunt every year, and it's so easy to just not do it. But my dad's always been the real driving force behind it, getting everybody together, and all of his brothers and us younger generation, and just to keep that. I mean, it's been going for 40, 50 years. I mean, my dad was born in 1950, and my older cousin Butch, he's kind of picked up, and he kind of runs the family hunt now as well, him and my dad. And like I say, Butch had an idea to document the stories that stick out. So he asked each family member to write a couple, and he's actually had it printed in a hardcover book.
Amazing.
And it's an incredible thing to hand down to my kids. They can hand down to their kids. There's some stories there that'll make your hair stand up. It's like, and it's just things that have happened, Things that have happened and stood out. I'll let you read it.
I'd love to, man.
Yeah.
So I guess let's finish with a funny one, like a short funny one that you told me that's from that book. It's to do with the snake bite in the back of the boat.
On the back of the Hilux.
Okay.
Yeah, so we used to hunt on a farm in Kirkwood on the Sundays River called Kruisrivier. It belonged to Christy Dorfling, and he used to give us the run of the show there. My dad was his bank manager, and he just let us use the farm like it was ours, type of thing, for hunting.
Yeah.
He just left us to our own devices. And one of our family hunts there in the early days, he said, well, go stay in the old house, So there was no doors or windows. All the glass had been fallen out. One of the very old farmhouses there. And we boarded up the big double door with lucerne bales, and our bed in the big room was creosote poles across and old floorboards that we'd found lying in the house this way, and we put our mattresses on there, and all like probably 8 or 9 of us in a row just sleep like army style, you know.
Yeah.
And my uncle and the older guy in the hunting party he was like the old man. There was Uncle Dicky Dixon, and he had some incredible hunting dogs and could also really tell some classic stories. He'd been around the block. He was here from Grahamstown, so he would come along on these family hunts with us as well, and he was like the older generation there. So him and my dad's younger but Uncle Bill had decided on this particular night that on the first night there, they're not sleeping in this old derelict house. They'll just camp out in the back of the bucky under the canopy, but not realizing how cold it gets there. It gets like 0 degrees quite easily in the evenings, -1, whatever.
So it's like in Fahrenheit, like the 30s, I think. Maybe the high 20s.
I'm
something
talking
like
degrees Celsius here. I don't know Fahrenheit at all.
Yeah.
But so they were sleeping in this bucky, and during the night, Uncle Dicky needed to go for a pee, but it was so cold. They thought, well, if there's a way of doing this without getting out and letting all the cold air in, he's gonna pee out of the window of this bucky. So Uncle Bill had to wake up and open the window for him, and Uncle Dicky was probably in his 70s those days, and it was like a terrible windy night, and they'd parked next to this mimosa tree with these big white thorns, and Uncle Dicky was having a pee out the window, and this wind had swept this branch against the canopy, and this big white mimosa thorn tree had pricked him.
Prick Dicky's Dicky.
Prick Dicky's Dicky. And Uncle Dicky let out a bellow, snake, snake. He thought this had been bitten by a flippin' snake in the middle of the night. Yeah. So Uncle Bill shot out of bed, and he bring his little ever-ready torch there. And he's like, what's going on? And he's trying to make sense of what had actually happened here. And Uncle Dicky's like, I've been bitten by a snake on my nonna here, type of thing, you know. So with respect to the old man, Uncle Bill is like, he's like, didn't really want to look, but he's now had to flip and help out here, you know. So, and fortunately he managed to spot the thorn that had broken off, stuck in there. Yeah, otherwise and then he put 2 and 2 together that it was from this tree outside, and then we got retold the story the next morning, because we'd heard this flippant commotion, and we'd like asked what the hell was going on out there last night, and then they relayed the story to us, and it was a big it's one of those stories that get retold every year around the campfire from to the younger generation.
Yeah, that's a family heirloom if ever I've heard one.
100%.
That's so good.
Yeah, so we've got some classics out there, but I'll let you read the book, and you can have a good chuckle for yourself.
I'd love to. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you,
I think we'll wrap with that one for this time. I would love to come back and hear more.
I'd love to have you back, and hopefully we get to stick an arrow in a pig here tonight.
Oh, fingers crossed.
And but like I said, pig hunting is a special thing, close to my heart, and shooting a pig on your first night out, like the other night, just wouldn't have been a true reflection of pig hunting. So hopefully on our third night out, maybe we'll come right. Who knows? Otherwise, it's a thing to look forward to for you to come and hunt next year.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I'd love to come back, dude.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Hopefully by then you're hunting with a spear.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Appreciate your time.
Right, that's another episode done and dusted. Thank you again to Aubrey and his family for inviting me over, letting me into their home in the Eastern Cape, and just letting me have such an incredible time over there. I learned so much about many things. My mind has been opened. I've had a taste for this spear and dog hunting, and I'm definitely going to be back for more as soon as possible. But the adventures don't stop there just when I leave. You should definitely go and follow Bushveld Bow Hunting, both on Instagram and on YouTube. I will put some links down in the show notes. But yeah, it's Bushveld, V-E-L-D is the way that felt is spelt. So give that a look. There's some really amazing footage on there, amazing stories, some close calls as well, as you would expect. So it's definitely worth a follow, a subscribe. To everyone listening, I want to say again, thank you so much for your support. If you haven't already given the show a follow, then by all means, make sure that you do so that you're up to date with all the upcoming episodes. There's some really good ones in the pipeline. Okay, there's quite enough waffling from me for now. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.
Welcome to the Wild Dispatch.